This is the second and final part on how to correctly format Microsoft Word for EasyFs financial statements. Okay, now I want to just quickly show you page breaks and section breaks. I also want to show you a little bit of formatting when it comes to formatting the table of contents, and one trick or a workaround when it comes to using headings. Alright, so I'll first show you the headings workaround. Now when it comes to headings, let's move down to some headings. As you can see, I have included the heading in twice. Once in the header, that's because I wanted to keep on repeating over a number of pages, and I have mentioned it just below where I first started using the director's report. Just below that, I've entered it again within the body text. The reason why I've entered it within the body text is because it gets picked up only, it gets picked up in the outline or the table of contents only if it is mentioned in the body text. So therefore, if you want to use a heading in headers or footers, while you can use the style format, it does not enable you to have it included in the table of content or table of contents. So therefore, if you wanted a heading to be in the table of content, it must be within the body text. It's only then that it is on a particular page and the table of contents can pick it up. But if you were to enter it like this with twice, it does look a little silly. Like for example, even if I'm looking at the other headings I have here, as you can see, it's entered in twice just to get it to show up in the table of contents. Okay, now here I have not done a page break that actually separates it. So another thing which you must make sure you do before putting in your headers is to make sure that it is not linked. Now this is not linked to the previous one. Let me see the one below here. That one is linked to the previous one. Okay, so that's why this note heading has moved over to the previous one. So I'm going to just first remove the link. So you remove the link by coming into the design and clicking on the link to previous. Now if the link to previous isn't highlighted, it means it's not linked. So we'll click on it and just disconnect it. Alright, so now this is disconnected from the section above, so that heading can stay there. Now what I can do here is I can just come out here and I'm going to copy this and get back into the heading. Now how you get back is you double click it to get back in, and when you get into the header or footer, what you'll notice is that the rest of the body gets grayed out, and if you do one click, you can't actually edit it. That's because you're working in the header section. Another thing to look out when using Word is when you're in a particular areas, it would bring up a separate ribbon for that area where relevant. So, and that gives you a more functionality that can be used within that section or within that area which you're working with. Okay, and if you move out, the way to move out from the header is to double click below. As you can see, it grays out the header footer, and it's brought me two more ribbons here. That's because I'm within a table. So if I'm not within a table, let me get out of a table area. See, I'm just going to a normal text area and watch the ribbon here. Those are no longer available. So the reason they appeared is because I was within a table. So I mean within a table here, you have some additional functions. Alright, so that's something to look out for in Word as well. Alright, so now what I've done is I put in the header here, which we just did, and I've disconnected it from here. So I just want to show you how you can disconnect it as well. Right, so now that we've done that, let's look at this word trick or workaround. Now, so we want the header to be here, but we don't want it to be in there twice. We want it to be in the body text so that it comes into the table of contents Let me just update the table of contents. Let's see how the table of contents looks. The table of contents isn't following any particular order at this stage. Let me just update it. So to update the table of contents, you can click into it and hit update, and then it gives you the option whether you want to update the entire table or only the numbers. I want the entire table. There are a few more notes in here. Okay, as you can see, the numbers are not in order here. That's because I just put in a few numbers into this particular document to demonstrate the formatting capabilities more so than the numbering. It's just laying it out correctly for you. Okay, and as you can see the headers are getting picked up. Now the trick which you need to get is, the first thing you do is, since I'm using styles, I'm going to just get down to an area where I have doubled. Okay, since I'm using styles, it's using header style. Now if I were to change the formatting here, what will happen is it will change the formatting over there as well. So therefore what I need to first do is to create a new style. Okay, so I'm quickly having a look to see if I can just copy this style, but it doesn't look like I can copy that existing style. So I'm going to create a new style here. So I'm going to come down here, click this little arrow here, and here you can say create a new style. Okay, so I'm going to call this hide header 1. So I'm going to create a new style which will enable me to hide the header which is within the body text. So what I mean by hide is actually just not make it visible, more so than hide. So I'm going to say OK for that. Okay, so now I'm going to come into modify, and as you can see it's since I was on the header 1, it has actually copied the header 1 style features, okay, which is an identical copy of header 1 here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel that out again. Okay, now since it's this one's not automatically linked, but so which is fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, maybe I should just automatically link that one. Okay, I'm going to automatically link and say okay, right. So now that it's automatically linked, any changes I do will update it over there. So how it's the trick to hiding it is you just highlight the item and you come here and you change the color to white, so that way it will not print, and that's all you need to do in order to get it hidden, but still it appears in the outline and also in the table of contents. It's only hidden. So I will come here and I can now apply that style. Okay, and as I'm applying it, as you can see on the right hand side pane, it's still visible there, so which is fine. Okay, that's what we want to happen. Okay, so we need to just hide this one as well. I think that takes care of all of it, or most of it rather. This report is a little further up, I think. Yep, here we go, and I'm going to hide that. So that's how you do it. So it's pretty simple. You just hide it, and so you need to actually create a separate header. If you were to have hidden it by making it white, for example, without creating a new style, it would have changed both the one in the header and the one in the body text. So therefore that's how you do that. Alright, now when it comes to section breaks and page breaks, let me just get to the section breaks and page breaks are found here. You also have just normal page break in insert, but if you go to layout, that's where you get all the breaks which you can include. Alright, so page breaks, column breaks, and even text wrap. This is all the functions that operate within a section. Okay, a section starts a completely new area. When I say starts a completely new area, what I mean is that with a section break, within a section break, you can have your a different format to your document. You can, for example, make it landscape, as long as it's within a section. If you don't put a section and just have page breaks, if you were to make one page landscape all of the pages within the document will change to landscape. Maybe that's the look you want. So you just need to remember that if you want to a different page setup, you need to have it a different page setup within a document. For between pages, you need to have it within a section break. The most common section breaks which are used are the next page, which is starts a new page and then a new section. Generally, that is how you, where the sections normally break, because you can't have a section break within a page and then have, for example, half of the page be landscape. So it doesn't make sense. So it's normally on a new page. Alright, but also within a page or a section, you can have a continuous section break, which enables you to have slightly different formatting, like for example increasing the number of columns, for example, within a document that can have a little bit more different formats. We normally, if you look at a Word document, this whole thing can be considered as one column. Okay, it goes as one column, and here's where you have the columns. Okay, for example. Now what I'm going to just show you is, let me see if I can get two sections. So now here's the section break, next section break, so which means the area below follows a different section formatting, right? But it's more or less identical. It's just separating the section. So by breaking this section here, I can have different headings, because it's, as you can see, it's different from the one over here, because I was able to disconnect it and then have a different heading. You can't do that generally when it is within a document, or if you want to change to landscape, for example. So I do have a next page section break there, and I'm just looking to see where so here is a normal page break, so therefore we're just continuing the same section, and I have a next section break here. Alright, so therefore the text within this page section break and page section break, which I showed you above, can have formatting that is different. So for example, suppose I want this text from here to here to have different formatting from the rest of the section. That's why you use the continuous section. So what you do is you go to page break, put a continuous section. As you can see, nothing really changed other than saying, okay, there's a continuous section here. So different formatting is going to start from here. Then I'm going to come here and I'm going to do the same thing and say continuous section. Again, nothing much happened. It just put that term there, which will not also print, right? But if I click in between those two, for example, and I say, okay, I want this to be in 2 columns. As you can see, that changed, but none of the others were affected. Okay, none of the others were affected. So for example, if I were to come here and say, now since I'm within that particular section, which is continuous section, and if I come and say, okay, I want the column to be broken from here, it broke it from there and took it over there. Okay, it's not showing me that that continuous break which I just added in. That's because it's just sort of hidden right here. So if I were to actually just delete it from here, it'll bring it back. Okay, so I just put cursor there, hit the delete key. Okay, so that's how you include. That's the purpose of this continuous section. So you can just do it within a section, even if it's within a single document where there is no section break. You can put these 2 continuous sections in between two areas and get a different look for that. Okay, so that's where the continuous section comes. Next section break, we have seen how but you can have different headers, footers, and for example, let me just do another one here. So what if I come here and make this a section break? So I'm going to come here, insert, and I'm going to give it a next page section break rather than a page break. I'm going to just delete the page break one there. Okay, now I'm going to come down here, and that's a different section break there as well. Okay, so we know that, right? So therefore this forms a new section. Now I can just click within that section break here. Sometimes Word does do this. It tends to hide it a little bit. If I press enter, you can see that's a section break. I'm going to delete that. Alright, So now, since this is within a section, I can come and change the orientation of the document to landscape. So as you can see, this remain portrait because there is a section break here, and this remain portrait because there is a section break here. Alright, so as you can see, so the section break enabled me to have change the orientation of the page. Okay, now one area or one error most people tend to continuously do, and even if you look at it in this document, it has been done quite frequently. This particular error is to use the paragraph markers as vertical space. Now that is not how word formatting is correctly done. You are not expected to use paragraph markers for page breaks. Okay, now if you look at it, let me just come over here, for example. So let's use this as an example here, the notes, for example. Okay, so as you can see, for this notes, I have a paragraph marker on top, a paragraph marker on the bottom, same here, and I've had to do this every time I put in a new number. I had to put a paragraph marker there, a paragraph marker there, here as well, a paragraph marker, So that's not how it is generally expected to be applied. Okay, so what I could do is, for this example here, come here to the home page. So this is all using that paragraph marker, right? So I should probably also point out that why you don't use paragraph markers is the paragraph marker actually holds a particular format. So for example, if this was a larger font, for example, say 20, as you can see, that space is different from this space which I was keeping, but my idea was to keep a consistent space. So Control Z to undo it again. Alright, so how do you do the correct way to do vertical spacing is to, I'm going to come in to modify this particular area, is to use actually paragraph marking. So I could have just done it even here. So one way is you can come here and just set paragraph marking for that style, but as the style has been set to automatically update, I can change it here and it'll change the style as well, so I don't need to worry about it. Okay, so the way to do it is you come into the paragraphs and you can set the before space. So I'm going to set that to 18 before and 18 after. So that's a relatively large space, but I just want to demonstrate so you can actually see it. So now hit OK. Okay, now as you can see, it included the spacing here, and it's consistently done it all over. So now there's no more need to have this space, these paragraph markers here. So you can remove the incorrect formatting which was there. Okay, and the thing to remember is you'll always have consistency in your spacing. Here there's an extra space because we had applied that trick of ours here. Alright, so maybe we don't want that particular one to have the same formatting, and so it can be pretty useful there as well. So you can just come here and I'm going to just do the paragraph marking there. Just want to see that it's automatically updating. Okay, so I'm going to make that to 0 without any spaces there. I say okay for that. Okay, and the font, I can even make that smaller because it used to be hidden a little bit. Okay, so as you can see, I've hidden that particular item up. Okay, so, and this is the other paragraph mark. I've used a header here, so that's why that is having that gap here. So in this particular instance, you might even have another header format here, which you would apply for header 1, for example, and give it a different formatting so that it would not have that space there, right? So these are some things which you can easily format and create your own formatting styles to get to, one is to quickly format, and the next thing is to get the correct spacing, vertical spacing as well. Okay, so I've been to section breaks and I've shown you how to ensure that the header appears in the table of contents by hiding the header. One other thing I wanted to show you was how you go about centering or making slight modifications to your table of contents. I'm just going to scroll up to the table of contents here quickly. The table of contents unfortunately can be very tricky, okay, but here is where you can use tab stops. I will cover tab stops in the next paragraph, in the next training coming up after this, or maybe I'll just cover tab stops here. So tab stops basically are ways to align text within a particular paragraph, for example. Now here, as you can see, there's two tab stops. Now I actually don't need two tab stops to be here. I just need only one. So if I highlight it here, as you can see, this tab stop makes sense because it is giving the distance from here to here, but this tab stop is not needed. So the way to get rid of a tab stop which is not needed, you just drag it out of it and just let it go. It's no longer there. Alright, now when it comes to centering the table of contents, for example, is you use the tab markers and then you can move them in and out. So suppose if you wanted to move some in a little bit, it's only in these three that actually has that tab stop. So I'm going to try and just capture those three. So I click the button there, I click the selector there, or pointer there, and then I pressed shift and I click where I wanted it to, up to where I wanted to select it. Sometimes that's an easier way to select it. So I'm going to not have it. Hopefully I won't drop it again. Okay, I'm going to take it in slow steps. Okay, I'm going to move it up to 4, right? Right, now I've done that. Now I want to move this text in as well. Okay, so the way you do that is you can just capture it from here. Oh, it's only moving those three. I didn't want that. So I'm going to put Control Z because I wanted to move all of these in. I thought I'd move this in a little bit more closer. Let me capture again. Get up the pointer there, or the selector there, and then go there. I thought I moved this to about 4. That's good. Selector there and shift. Enter. I get this whole area here. Alright, so as you can see, I've moved it in. I've reduced the space here, so I've centered it. I can also go ahead and do the centering here by moving that one in, for example. Moving these in if that's what I wanted. So that's how you go about formatting your table of contents. Okay, so it can be useful in doing this. If you want to sort of move it for closer, if you're just happy with the style, then just leave it as it is. Alright, so that's, I just want to show you how you can move it. It's a little fidgety as I told you, but that's how you use your tab stops. So now let me just show you tab stops a little bit more. So let me just click in here. Again, as you can see, I just use paragraph markers to give vertical space. We are all guilty of using this, but it's not the correct way to do it. So if I want to center text, say left, center, and right. Now I want to center them left, center, and right. Now the easiest way to do that is to use the tab marks here. Now if you come here to this particular alignment tabs, and if you were to click it, as you can see, as you click it, it'll change to something else. Okay, so that's how you can add different markers. I just need to just drop it in here. Okay, let's put that in there. And I wanted a center. Put it in there. Okay, got it in there. One to the left. Okay, I got the markers I wanted in there, right? So that is the right tab. Okay, I got the right tab centered. I got the center tabs. Move it over to there. Alright, now if I come here and I just take away the left directory tab. Now as you can see, it's only tabbing. It only tabbed in there because it tabbed to the left one first, but I don't want that to happen. So what I'll do is I first come here, tab this one, get that one to that point, then I got the center one here, and if I tab it here, it goes to the left. And now if you look at it, you can actually move your center point and move and center it like that. Okay, so that's how you put spacing between the text and how you place text. Okay, in addition to the left, right and center, you also have other tabs like the decimal point. Let me show you that. Okay, so with the decimal point, what you need to remember is that the text needs to be right aligned with that. Right, now if I try to center these to get the decimals to come correctly, it does make it difficult. You get spaces, you can try, but as you can see, it will never really align correctly for you. And it looks reasonable now, but it's not actually, it looks reasonable, but it's not actually centered or properly aligned. So if I were to come here and say, for example, we're going to say left align, well, I think those ones seem reasonable, but this one isn't aligned. So we do have a problem there. So let me just right align it again. Alright, so the way to do that is to now put in the period marker, which is here. I'm going to do it there. As you can see, as soon as I put it, it aligned it perfectly. So that's another useful tab stop which you can use. You can get the tabs from here, and you go to paragraphs, and if you go to tabs, you can see the tab markers here. Okay, so as you can see, that's the one at 6 point. There's one at it's saying 6.55, which is a decimal tab which has been put in. So 6 because it's half from here. So 6 centimeters. Here you can also set the default tab. The word uses half an inch as its default every time you tab. If you have added no tabs, that will be the default tab in your Word document. I normally like to use 1 centimeter because it's easier to see it in centimeters, because the ruler is also generally in centimeters. So I normally use centimeters, but it's up to you in terms of your preference. So that's another tab stop. Alright, so that's what I want to show you with regard to tab stop. Alright, the final thing that I wanted to just show was how to split a table at a particular point onto a new page without actually breaking a table. This is vital. It's very important when using EasyFs financials and tables. And I'll also just quickly get into how you go about putting a header and footer in, which is pretty basic. You can easily do that. But I'll just run through that quickly, and also maybe I'll cover a little bit on creating a custom bullet point as well if I have got time to just go through that. So the main thing I wanted to show you was how to correctly split a table without breaking a table. Now suppose this table was a little bit lengthy and you wanted to split it, so I'm just going to make it a little bit lengthy. One thing is, the correct way to select a table is you use this icon here, and if you click it there, it selects the table correctly. It selects the full area of the table. That's the correct way to select the full table. Now I'm just going to come here to the home tab and just change the spacing a little bit. I just want it to flow onto another page a little bit. See over there. So yes, as you can see, it's sort of just flowing over. So suppose you want to take this portion here at the bottom to a new page, but you don't want to break the table. Now if you were to come here and, for example, insert a page break, what that does is it actually creates two tables. See, if I were to click on here, I get an icon here, and if I were to select the icon, it only selects the bottom part because that's a separate table. And if I were to come here and click on here and select here, it'll only select the top part of the table. So therefore I've actually broken the table, and that's not how you do it, and it will not function correctly if you had done this in EasyFs Financials. Alright, so I'm going to just hit the undo, so Control Z to undo it, and now it's just one table now. If I select it, as you can see, it's still, now it's one table, right? So the correct way to split table is to come to the point where you want it to commence the split. So suppose I want to split it from here, so I'm putting the cursor there, and then what you do is you go to the home tab, you go to paragraphs there, and you go to line and page breaks, and here is where you click page break before. Alright, and you say OK. So as you can see, now it's gone to the bottom, but there is no icon here showing it as a new table. And if I come here and select it, it selects the bottom part as well. And so that's how you correctly break a table, and it has some significant advantages. So for example, if I were to come here and say I select these two rows, and say I right click it and I say go to the properties, table properties, or you could come to table properties from here as well. So I just go from here, and if I go to the rows, I can say repeat as header rows. Okay, so if I say OK there, now if I come to the bottom here, as you can see, I got a header row. It's still part of that same table. There is no icon here. It's still part of that one table. It just starts here. Alright, so I'm also going to show you how you take away the marker. Now the marker is actually at this point here where we inserted it. It's not at the top. See, you can't even click the top because that's just repeating from the table. Okay, so it's a first cell, extreme left, that actually has the page break marker of the paragraph. So if I click in there and then come here to paragraphs, again go to the line and page breaks, and I take away the tick mark there which says page break before, say OK, it's back into one table. Okay, so that's how you would correctly split a table without actually breaking it. Okay, and that is how you have to do it when you're using tables in EasyFs Financials. The next thing I just wanted to show you was headers and footers. So if you double click in here is where you get access to your headers, footers, and here some important things to remember is the linking. If you wanted to repeat the items on the top section, you'd link it. If you don't want it, you'll remove the link, and if it's highlighted like this way, that means it's linked. Alright, so, and this is how you can sort of navigate between the headers, the first, second, and stuff like that way, so that's just for navigation, or you can just say go to. Alright, and if you want to just insert, for example, I've come down to footers here. If you need to insert a custom footer, you just come to the footers here, and then you could just select a style that you like and just apply it. So that's pretty easy. So, and then you can sort of modify it and edit it to the way you want. Same with the headers as well if you want to use a custom header. But when you prepare financials, you probably want to create your own type of header here because of the information that you want to actually display. Alright, now one other thing which I would like to try and show you here is maybe, let's get to some text area. Yeah, say for example bullet points. So I wanted to show you how you can sort of customize a bullet point. So if there is a little arrow here, alright, and you can come and define your bullet points, okay, and you can use some built-in pictures as well. I mean, if you go to here, for example, under the Bing one, you get a whole list of icons you can use, which it can be practically any icon. You can just use something like this way, for example. Okay, and you could select anything to be an icon. I mean, obviously you'll make it something that's meaningful. I've just selected something that's not really meaningful, but that could be your icon. You could use a bullet like that, rather than I think I mentioned icon, but actually what I meant was a bullet. Okay, so it can be anything, and after you add the bullet in, it comes in here as a standard bullet, which you could use with this document. Alright, so that is how you can sort of customize a bullet.